Okay. So good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
This is our last class on grief. And we didn't want to finish on a sad note. It's not because we're talking to grief that we need to talk about sad things. We want to finish in a hopeful note. So today we are discussing the practice of lament. Lament is a prayer in pain that leads us to trust God. It's the way. It's not just a way to grieve, but a way to praise God through your sorrows. Lament is a historic minarchy language that creates this pathway to praise. It bridges the gap between a hard life and trusting in God's sovereignty. Most laments, they have a pattern to them. So in a minute, we're going to look at the 4 elements of lament. But before we go there, I want to share to you that laments can be, if lament is a way that we praise God through our sorrows, there's 2 ways that we can do it. There's the individual one. It's when you come to God with your suffering. Lord, this is what I am going through. Lord, this is my hurt. And then the second, let me just guide. Get the whole clipboard. Yes, and then a pen. You have a pen? Awesome. Sorry. There's not just the way that we do this individually, but we can also do that corporately. So we can move forward in hope. We can acknowledge God's hope. We commit to not passing on pain. We can meet God in our grief and our suffering as we lament individually. And then there are some examples of these are actually all of the psalms that are individual. I put it on it's in your handout. But also there are ways to do that corporately. So in the past, Israel would do that together. So they had laments that they had for Israel. But we can do that as a church. We can come together. I don't know if you've seen that sometimes we do prayers of confession as a church. Sometimes we do bold requests to God as a church. This is also how the church models to those that belong to the body. How do you process a tragedy? It's how we teach people how to lament individually, is when we lament corporately. It's a way to teach people to pray. It's a way that people come together in unity. I remember that in 2020 with the COVID and the racial issues that arose around the same time, we had a lot of corporate opportunities to come together and lament and work together through it and talk about it. The body came together. It's when you have like churches coming together and discussing and praying together about areas of injustice and evil. The church can challenge evil and injustice not only through corporate actions of challenging the system or working with other to guide people through truth, but we can also do that together by recognizing our suffering together and working together against evil and injustice through prayer. So this also happens a lot in the Old Testament through the book of Psalms. There's a lot of that. Okay, so what are the 4 pieces of lament? So you have a second sheet in there that gives you more detailed explanation. I'm going to guide you through the 4 steps, okay? So the 4, I wouldn't say steps in the sense that they have to be done in order. Here. You need that?
I was just gonna get one for things.
Oh, sorry.
There you go. You need to get
There are 4 pieces. Not every song has all 4 pieces, but you're going to find at least 3 of those elements, okay? Every time you have a lament, you're going to have someone turning. And turning to God, it's this like, I am right here sitting in my suffering, and I'm looking at my suffering. And pain creates this temptation to give God a silent treatment, right? I want to talk to you because you hurt me. You allowed this pain to happen. I don't want to talk to you. So lament is a way to bridge this gap. Silence might be easier, but it's unhealthy, right? We want to draw upon what we believe and talk to God as we walk through hardship. This is turning to God. For example, in Psalm 22:1, he starts with, my God, and he says, why have you forsaken me? It's like, even with God, Jesus is near the cross, and he's praying to God, and he says, my God. He is like lamenting the situation he has to go through as he trusts what God is doing. Then you complain, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from helping me? From the words of my groaning. The second step is the complaint. You bring your exactly complaint to God. Then you ask. You make a bold ask. For example, in Psalm 7, it says, rise up, O Lord, in your anger. Lift yourself up against the fury of my enemies. Awake, O my God, you have appointed a judgment. There is a bold ask that is done. And then they finish on trust. Look at Psalm 55. But I call upon God, and the Lord will save me, evening and morning, and at noon. I utter my complaint and moan, and he will hear my voice. So I want to give each of you a different psalm, so you will be able to look through a psalm. I have enough. And I want you to read through your psalm. I'm going to give you a couple minutes. And I want you to practice finding these 4 elements, okay? They don't necessarily come in order. So you might start with a bold proclaim and then a formation of trust or whatever, okay? So each of you have a psalm, and I want us to share those. So look through your psalm, read your psalm, see if you can find these 4 elements. Are they turning to God or calling upon God? What is the complaint of the psalm? What are they asking for? And what is the affirmation of trust? And then we're going to work through each of them individually. Have yours? You have yours? Do we think we have identified? If not all of them, at least a couple of them in the psalm that we had. Each of you have a different psalm, by the way. So there'll be no overlap. Okay, everybody? I'm going to move to the first one. The first of the pieces of lament is turning to God in prayer. And turning to God sometimes is literally just mentioning His name. Oh God. As I said, pain creates a strong temptation to give God the silent treatment. But laments invite us to keep crying out in prayer through the ups and downs of hardship. I'll give you one example. Psalm 77, 1-3. Anyone has Psalm 77? Good, I chose a different one then. I cry aloud to God, and He will hear me. In the day of my trouble, I seek the Lord. In the night, my hand is stretched out without wearying. My soul refuses to be comforted. When I remember God, I mourn. When I meditate, my spirit faints. He's coming to God and He's saying, I am crying out to you. Give me an example. Do you see this in the psalm that you have in front of you? Could you read? Tell me, you say what psalm you're reading, and you can read the piece that you consider the turn to God. Laura?
Yeah, I have Psalm 86, and I have a couple kind of split out throughout the psalm, but it's like, incline your ear, O Lord, and then give ear, O Lord, to my prayer, listen to my plea for grace. In the day of my trouble, I call upon you.
Mm-hmm. Who else wants to share?
I have Psalm 10, and in verse 12 it says, Arise, O Lord, O God, lift up your hand, forget not the afflicted.
Can we see clearly that there's an ask, there's a call to God in there? Even though God, the comfort feels distant, God seems sometimes far away. The psalmist is reaching out to God. He's saying, Lord, I need you to hear me. So that's how we start, okay? The second step in lament is candidly talking to God about what is wrong. There's a difference between just a complaint and a lament. A complaint without all the other pieces is just a complaint. A complaint inside of a lament is this opportunity to just bring to God, Lord, there's something that's happening that does not fit with your character. There's something that is happening that does not fit with your purposes. It's different than just complaining about things. Biblical complaint is comparing the situation that you're going through, not with your own perceptions, your own wants, your own desires. It's comparing them to God, to His character, to His purposes. So it's talking to Him about His wrong, but recognizing that He has purposes that we might not see, and that we know His character, His perfect character. He knows that God is in control when the psalmist writes to God, but he, instead of talking to other people about it and complaining to other people about it, lament brings our complaints to God. See, for example, Psalm 13, verses 1 and 2. Read for us.
Oh, the whole thing?
Verses 1 and 2.
Oh, sorry. How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I take counsel in my soul and have sorrow in my heart all the day? How long shall my enemy be exalted over me?
You see, there's this like Lord, it's pretty serious what he's saying. He's saying that it feels like God is hiding His face from him. He says that he feels forgotten. He feels like his enemy is being exalted. I was like, Lord, this is not associated. This doesn't look like you. Doesn't look like I have come to experience from you. I remember lamenting was one of the practices that I took upon when I lost my children. And I remember writing down all the things that I was feeling as I wrote my own lament. And I would say, Lord, you created life. You made women to bear children. through history, you have blessed women by opening their wombs. Why do you continuously close mine? You're a God of life. Why do I continually experience that? This complaint was completely cohesive with God's character. Lord, I know you're in love, but it doesn't feel loving right now. I know you were powerful, but why haven't you stopped this from happening? Not once, but twice. I came to him with my complaint and saying, Lord, I know your character, and what's going on doesn't seem to match it. I know that you have purposes that I may not see, but this doesn't seem like what I know from you. Walk with me through this, Lord. And then, you're not just venting your anger, your sinful anger towards God. You're just telling God your struggles. So I think one of the difficulty for people in grief, especially Christians, is that they're afraid that telling God how they feel is a lack of faith. That if you tell God what's going on and the anger that you're feeling and the pain that you're feeling and your struggles, then you're contesting God. That you are doubting Him. But I'll tell you, doubt is a part of faith. If you come to God with your doubts instead of just sitting with them, you see the difference that it brings. I came to God and said, God, you don't feel loving right now. This doesn't feel like love. This doesn't feel like you cared about me. But I know you do. You see the difference between a complaint that sits with its pain and a complaint that is brought to God? This is lament. And then there's a piece in the lament where we ask boldly. So before we go into asking, I forgot to ask other examples of complaint. What's the complaint in your psalm? Who wants to share with me? The psalm that I share with you. Did you find a complaint?
I think the majority of mine was a complaint. Like from verse 2 to verse 11 was just like, why are all these people getting away with doing all this stuff and you're not doing anything about it? Like it was just
What was your song?
Psalm 10.
Oh, yeah.
So it starts like, in arrogance the wicked hotly pursue the poor, let them be caught in the schemes that they have devised. And then it continues, you know,
Just
Good
keeps
list.
going.
yeah, just listing like all this stuff and how, you know, in the end, he says that person who's doing this he says in his heart, God has forgotten, he has hidden his face, he'll never see it. So as if the person just is like, well, there's no God to see it, so I'll just continue being wicked. So there's a lot of
Who else wants to share the complaint of your psalm?
Well, the complaint in Psalm 6, in verse 6, I am weary with my moaning every night. I flood my bed with tears. I drench my couch with my weeping. My eye wastes away because of grief. It grows weak because of all my foes. It's pretty strong stuff.
Yeah. Very raw, right?
Mm.
I fill my bed with tears. I'm swimming in a pool of tears here. Okay, then lament invites us to keep calling on God to act. It's like literally what the movement that happens in Psalm 70, the one that you have.
Me too.
Yeah, Psalm 10. It's like, Lord, the wicked is doing it because they think that they're getting away with it. But then he's going to say, what are you going to do about it? Lament seeks more than relief. He yearns for God to bring the deliverance that fits with his character. The godly lamenters keep asking, even when the answer is delayed. Like, Lord, how long is this going to happen? Like, are you going to do something about it? Lament affirms the applicability of God's promise by asking again and again for divine help. These requests are then hopeful reminders of what God can do. Asking boldly serves to strengthen our resolve to not give up. I'll go back to Psalm 3 to 4, it's just so easy. Consider and answer me, O Lord my God. Like, come and do something about it. Answer me. Lest I sleep the leaf of that, or I'm gonna die, basically. Or my enemy will say, I won, I have prevailed over him. If you shake it, he's saying, Lord, do something. Do you have a do something piece in your song? Share with me.
Alright, look in verse 15, he says, break the arm of the wicked and evildoer, call his wickedness to account till you find none,
Yeah.
and do justice to the fatherless and the oppressed.
I love the song. It's such a psalm against injustice. Beautiful. Craig.
Psalm 6. Turn, O Lord, deliver my life. Save me for the sake of your steadfast love. For in death there is no remembrance of you. In Sheol, who will give you praise?
You see that he's saying, do something so that you may be praised. He's concerned with God's glory in his suffering. He's concerned that God will be seen. I find this so beautiful. That in our prayer we can say, Lord, allow me to rejoice. Allow me to show others the joy that comes through you, the joy that comes from you. Allow us to experience your character in our lives, your justice, your goodness, your kindness. Do something so that we can praise you. Which is why I say the lament leads us to, is a way of praise, right? Because we finished with renewed confidence in God's trustworthiness. That is the goal of lament. It helps us through suffering by directing our hearts to make the choice, often daily, to trust in the God whose purposes are hidden behind the pain. It leads us to a sorrow so we can trust God and praise Him. So, how about you share with me some of those phrases that you find in your song? The songs are trying to help us come to the conclusion that hard is hard, but hard is not bad. Hard can be very hard, but hard doesn't necessarily mean bad. What is the prayer? What is the final affirmation of trust in God's character that you see in the psalm that you have in front of you?
In Psalm 13, I have trusted in your steadfast love. My heart shall rejoice in your salvation. I will sing to the Lord because he has dealt bountifully with me. So having trust in his bountiful love.
Who else wants to share? Affirmations of God's trust in the psalm that I shared with you.
I can, I have Psalm 86, and there's a couple, for you, O Lord, are good and forgiving, abounding in steadfast love to all who call upon you. And then later, that's kind of repeated in verse 13, for great is your steadfast love towards me. And then again in verse 15, but you, O Lord, are a God merciful and gracious, slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness.
Craig, do you want to share some?
Psalm 6. The Lord has heard my plea. The Lord accepts my prayer. All my enemies shall be ashamed and greatly troubled. They shall turn back and be put to shame in a moment.
I think lament is one of the best theological exercises that we can do. It's a clearly application of what have we learned about God? How does our knowledge of God confront our daily experiences? And how He helps us move forward? In this world, you will be afflicted, but have hope. I have overcome the world. This is what lament does. It says, there is affliction in the world, but Jesus has overcome. Therefore, I can have hope. So the reason why I gave you a piece of paper is that I want to give you the opportunity to work through it and write your own lament. If you're going through a loss in your life right now, if you have recently lost someone, or if you would like to process the loss of something or someone, I invite you to do that on paper. I invite you to figure out how can you try to do as many of these as possible. I know that there are seasons in life that your lament looks like Psalm 10, that there's a bunch of complaint. Other times your complaints are short. Sometimes you have to draw upon a lot of God's character. Sometimes your plea is, my God, my God. I remember the time in my life that I went through something very, very painful. And for a week, all that I said was Jesus. I'm not joking. There's a song that literally says, Jesus, 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 Jesus. And the sentences are very short. He died for me, he rose again, he lives on high. Like the sentences that I had were short. I just sung Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And sometimes that's all we have. Maybe you are very troubled by pain of things around you. You something, an injustice against someone that you know and love. Maybe you see someone acting in an evil way. You can complain to God about that. Bring your grievance to God. Bring your pain to God. So I want to invite you. Start by calling upon God. Turn to God. What are the things from His character that you need to draw upon? Let's try that. I'll give yourself a minute. Let's turn to God. What are things that you can say to God? What are pieces of His character that seem relevant to you right now? Lord, I know you are, even though I don't feel it right now, but I know you are this. At home, if you want, you might take the time to look at the Bible, maybe verses that affirm that specific characteristic of God that you can draw upon right now. When I doubted God's love, even verses that you memorize in first grade, for God so loved the world, He gave His only Son. God loved. It's a complete action. I have to trust that love. When I felt like God had abandoned me, that He didn't care about me, will a mother do that? Maybe a mother will, but I will not. Those certainties from God's word, from God's character. Root your lament. Who is God for you? Bring a complaint to God. What are you complaining about? Lord, this is happening. My wife is in the hospital. My kid is suffering, bullying in school. I'm so angry that you took my brother away. Why do I have to suffer with this disease? Why is my kid not here with me? Why is my friend being unjustly accused? Why does he have to go to jail for something he didn't commit? Bring to God your pain, bring your grief to God. Complain. Maybe you have a sentence of complaint, maybe you have 10 lines. There's no wrong there. If God is who he says he is, there's nothing we can say that his truth won't go through. So just tell it to him. Tell him how it is. Tell him how you feel. Complain away. How long, O Lord, how long will you forget me? Aren't you going to do something for me, Lord? Get ready to be bold, friends. What is the thing you want God to do? My bold is 5 months old. I said, Lord, I want to have a child. Open my womb. I want a child. It's very bold. But
It's
very simple.
specific.
Very specific. You can be very specific, very bold in your ask. Some of the psalms, the corporate psalms that we read, it's like, Lord, slaughter the enemies. Kill them all. Some of them are pretty harsh. But it's what they want. It's what they're boldly asking. And their ask is in accordance to God's character. They're not saying, kill these people that I don't like. They're saying, these people are going against you. These people are acting against you. They are terrible. Act according to your character, your just character, your kind character. Wipe them out from the face of the earth. Because their unjust, unkind, sinful character is not in accordance with who you are. Boldly ask. You know God. You know his character. You turn to him. You figure out what's the one thing on his character that you can rely upon at this moment for this specific ask. So now boldly ask according to his character. And finally, I invite you to make a statement of trust. Choose to trust in the character of God. Choose to trust. Lord, I don't see it. Lord, I am in pain, but I will call upon you. But I know you are loved. But I will the first month of my pregnancy, I cried out to God a lot of times. And my trust piece, I actually wrote it down and then I acted upon it, was to make a baby registry. By week 6 of my pregnancy, I thought, just like my other pregnancies, God was getting ready to take my baby away. And I had to trust that he was going to allow me to carry the pregnancy to the end. I had to trust his character. And trusting him was hard. And my trust was not only an affirmation, Lord, I trust you. It was a step. Lord, I am gonna make a baby registry, and I'm gonna choose things for my child, for my baby shower that will happen when I'm 6 months pregnant. I'm gonna do this now, at 6 weeks, because I'm trusting that you are going to be here with me. It was an action. I chose to trust. The but directs that decision to trust. But I call upon God. But I have trusted in your steadfast love. But I. And then I'm going to turn off the camera so that we can share a few pieces of our, maybe you can share what is the character of God, the piece of the character of God that you are holding on to right now. Maybe you want to share, what are you asking God to do? I'm not gonna tell you what to. I don't know how personal, how corporate is your request. But we're a small group of people, and it can be encouraging for us to share our lament with others. So you don't need to share everything, but I invite you to share something from your lament. And then we're gonna pray. Oops. So I'm gonna turn off the camera so none of this gets recorded.